Welcome to the Full Nelson. Today I'm going to be reviewing this Wera set of screwdrivers. This particular set is the set that has the striking cap on the back, which I really prefer. And this set has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 screwdrivers in the set. There are 5 flat-bladed screwdrivers, and there are 2 Torx, 3 Phillips, and 3 posi drive. Now, these screwdrivers, we'll go ahead and start with the handle. I mentioned they have a striking cap. They are full tang, which means that the shank of the screwdriver goes the whole way through the handle and interfaces with this striking cap on the back. Now, I don't usually hit my screwdrivers on the back a whole lot, but I will give you a few applications for which I do make use of that, and one of the reasons why I seek this out on screwdriver sets that I buy. When you need a small chisel-like screwdriver, I generally don't use, people will tell you it's abusive to take a screwdriver and not use it to turn a fastener and to use it as a prying tool or to use it as a chisel or anything like that. I don't know many people who don't take a big flat-bladed screwdriver and use it as a chisel. In fact, I find many times that I'm reaching for the biggest flat blade screwdriver I have, take a mini 2-pound sledgehammer, and I'll use that big screwdriver in any set, this set or other sets, as a chisel for prying things or for driving it into things to get things apart, stuff like that. So that's one application for which this striking cap is useful. Now, I know some people are going to say, well, maybe it's useful for a flat-bladed screwdriver, but is that really useful for a Torx or for a Phillips or posi drive? And the answer is yes. If you have a fastener that has been partially damaged or slightly rounded, you can take your striking cap screwdriver and put that in the fastener and hit that with like a 2-pound sledgehammer and give it a little thump, and it will drive this thing into that and give you a really good purchase on even damaged fasteners. In fact, I've had times where you can take and drill out a hole with like a Torx screwdriver or like this, or a Torx bit. You can drill out a hole that's the size of the inner portion of the tip of this bit and then drive the flanges into the material that has not been drilled out and create yourself essentially a brand new custom head, Torx head for that bolt that's had the head snapped off, or a screw that's had the head snapped off. If you pick an appropriate size, you can use them that way and get an incredible purchase, better than any easy out screw or bolt extractor that I've ever used. So if you have a partially damaged fastener, you can smack these things on the back while it's in the head of the fastener. It'll give you a really good purchase to pull that fastener out. So there is a use for that striking cap, even with the Phillips, posi drive, and the Torx. Now, the screwdrivers, as far as other aspects of the grip here, they have this rubber. All this yellow that you see here is like a rubber molded section of the screwdriver. They have a uniquely shaped handle. Wasn't too sure that I would be fond of that at first, but it really doesn't bother me. In fact, most screwdriver handles don't really bother me. I can just get used to them, and usually they're okay as long as I can get a good purchase, and I can get a good purchase with these. The rubber is tacky enough for me to get a good purchase. And then the rest of this black section is all just plastic. Now, if you put these screwdrivers in a tool cart or something like that where they're going to be sitting vertical instead of horizontal, you have no markings to tell you if it's a Torx, a Phillips, a flathead that you're grabbing, so you're just going to have to organize your toolbox accordingly, or maybe even put a sticker where these things are going to be sitting in the toolbox so you know what you're grabbing. Piece of masking tape, something like that, or just put one type on one side, one type on another side. That's kind of the way that I do it. Now, the shank on these has a hexagonal shank so that you can put a wrench on them, so that in the event you're applying a lot of downward pressure with one hand and you need a lot of leverage for a stubborn fastener, you can put a wrench on that hexagonal part of the shank, either here or up here closer to the handle, and that'll give you more leverage to turn your fastener out. That's something I don't use very often, but it's a nice feature to have. I don't see any reason not to do that. other than I have seen a few holes drilled in different types of things that the holes are obviously drilled round because that's the way the drill bits drill. They don't drill in a hexagonal shape. And I have seen times where a screwdriver like this Vessel brand will fit in a space that a hexagonal screwdriver will not fit. Anyway, so that's just some food for thought. Now, as far as the tips of these screwdrivers themselves, they seem to be good quality. I've used these a handful of times since I picked them up. I am not the type of person that's putting a lot of hard use on my screwdrivers, but my screwdrivers, of all the sets that I have, my screwdrivers, one set or another, gets used daily for smaller tinkering type tasks. But I'm not an auto mechanic. I'm not the type of person that's just beating these things to death, so I can't speak really to the long-term durability of them. If you're looking for a torture test or something like that, you probably have to look for that somewhere else. Now, I have watched and researched people who have used them harder than me, and one of the issues I've seen is some people have managed to actually snap these off at the tip, and I'll tell you kind of my thoughts about that. Part of it, I would say, is it depends on how you're using them and how much torque you're putting on them. But there's a couple things you'll find with screwdrivers and tools in general. Tools that get heat treated, a lot of the time when you take steel and heat it up and temper it so that it's hard, it's going to keep that tip from deforming. But the risk is it may also make the tip more brittle. It's not going to bend. So if you take some lower quality sets of screwdrivers, like some of the old ones I used to have, you'll put them in a fastener, and after you use them quite a while, you'll see that the tips actually start to deform and they'll actually start to bend. And that's because they haven't been tempered or heat treated. Now, the upside of that is you're never going to snap a screwdriver that has not been tempered or heat treated in that way, because it's just going to bend and give out. Now, the downside of that is that the tip of your screwdriver may just become completely useless because it will bend and become so deformed. Now, the upside of having tempered screwdrivers like these and other high quality screwdrivers is the tips are not going to deform. The downside is when you push them to their limit, they're just going to break. And most of these companies, I can't speak to Wera's warranty, I'm not totally sure, but most of them have a warranty to where if you were to break them, they'd probably replace it for you. So anyway, that's been my experience with the trade-off between your heat treatment and different types of screwdrivers and other tools. So I believe cost-wise, I paid around $90 to $95 for this set. I don't know what they're selling for today because it's been a couple years since I purchased them, and I know with inflation and supply chain issues and stuff like that, maybe they cost a lot more. For the price I paid for this set, around $90, I think it's a great quality set of screwdrivers, and I don't think you would go wrong with these. I will be doing a comparison later of this Wera brand versus Vessel versus Wera and versus the Milwaukee set I picked up to give you an idea which set I prefer, which set I think is the best overall, and maybe what I think is maybe the best value for money out of those sets. But for today, I'm just going to be reviewing this Wera set of screwdrivers. Overall, I think they're excellent screwdrivers. Now, one thing you'll notice here, for those of you who may be a little OCD, that I noticed when I set these on the table, is you can see the markings here on the handle. And with these flat-bladed screwdrivers, they have pressed the shank in cockeyed on this one and on this one. That may bug you if you're a little OCD. It doesn't really bother me because I don't usually have my screwdrivers sitting in a padded holder or sitting in I don't have them sitting horizontal on my tool carts. Most of the time they're usually sitting like this. So anyway, yeah, so that doesn't really bother me too much. Anyway, if you guys have any questions or comments about this set of screwdrivers, or you have any experience you would like to share with this set or other sets of screwdrivers that you have used that you would recommend, feel free to leave those in the comments section below. I know I always find it extremely helpful when people in the community contribute and help give other people who are in the market more insight so that we can all make more informed purchasing decisions and find tools that will work well for us. Anyway, thanks for watching. See you later.